That was his bro. That was his wingman. These are the chilling words of a woman who was once inside the gilded cage of the super elite, a woman who dated the infamous Jeffrey Epstein. But she wasn't talking about just any friend. She was describing Epstein's bond with a man who would one day become the president of the United States, Donald Trump. For years, the world has heard Trump's version of the story, a casual acquaintance, a falling out, a distant memory he'd rather forget. But new, terrifying testimony from the heart of that inner circle paints a profoundly different and deeply disturbing picture. A picture of two men described not as acquaintances, but as best friends, as inseparable partners who were, in her ominous words, up to no good. Today, we delve into the shocking and detailed account of Stacey Williams, Epstein's former girlfriend. We will explore her harrowing allegation of a brazen assault in the glittering heights of Trump Tower, an incident she believes was not spontaneous, but meticulously coordinated between the two men. We'll examine the bizarre and psychologically terrifying aftermath in the silent descent of an elevator, a moment that revealed the true nature of the men she was with. And we will connect her story to the undeniable trail of evidence, the flight logs of a private jet, the pages of a secret address book, and a single cryptic postcard that Trump and his allies insist is all fake, forged, or irrelevant. This is the story of a friendship the powerful want you to forget, and the brave testimony that refuses to be silenced. Stacey Williams didn't just know Jeffrey Epstein. For several months during the 1990s, she was his girlfriend, giving her a front row seat to his private world. And in that exclusive world, one name echoed louder and more frequently than any other. The only friend that he would mention every time we saw each other or had a phone conversation was Donald, she stated in a recent bombshell interview. This wasn't a passing mention. This was a recurring theme, a central pillar of Epstein's social and personal life. The way Williams describes their bond is with startling, unnerving clarity. They were not just friends enjoying the high life. She portrays them as an operational duo. They were very close, she said, before adding the line that sends a shiver down the spine, and they were up to no good. This phrase, up to no good, hangs in the air, loaded with sinister implication. It's a colloquialism, but in the context of Epstein's now exposed legacy of monstrous crimes, it takes on a horrific weight. It suggests a shared purpose, a secret language, a commonality that went far beyond golf games and dinner parties. It paints a picture of two men who found in each other a unique and perhaps uniquely dangerous camaraderie. This context is what makes her primary allegation all the more horrifying. The story moves from the general to the specific, from the social scene of Palm Beach to the cold corporate heart of Manhattan, Trump Tower. According to Williams, Epstein led her directly to Trump's office. What happened next, she alleges, was not a secret back-alley crime, but something far more audacious and psychologically damaging. It was an assault hidden in plain sight. She described the scene with the kind of unnerving detail that sticks in the mind. They were back and forth, smiling and grinning and carrying on a casual conversation while Donald ran his hands all over me. Imagine the profound psychological terror of that moment. The alleged violation wasn't happening in darkness or isolation. It was happening under the bright fluorescent lights of a powerful man's office, punctuated by the mundane sounds of business and casual conversation between two powerful men. She even recalled with stunning clarity that assistants were walking back and forth while the incident occurred. The sheer, unadulterated brazenness of it was a weapon in itself. It was an act of dominance that communicated a terrifying message. We can do whatever we want, to whomever we want, wherever we want, and no one will stop us. Williams explained the paralyzing effect this open secret style of assault had on her. If it happens in a dark alleyway, you defend yourself. But when it's hidden in its brazenness like that, which is Donald Trump's forte, you go into shock, she recounted. So I froze, and it was over very quickly. It was a few minutes. It's in those few, terrifying minutes that a picture of an alleged predatory partnership is painted in stark relief. Not just one man acting out, but two men participating in a shared, unspoken dynamic, with one allegedly committing the physical act while the other stood by, smiling, grinning, and normalizing the horror with casual chat, thereby becoming a psychological accomplice to the act. The story, however, does not end when they leave the office. In fact, what happened next provides perhaps the most psychologically chilling insight into the twisted world of Jeffrey Epstein and the nature of his relationships. As Williams and Epstein stepped into an elevator to leave, the atmosphere instantly and violently changed. The grinning and the easy camaraderie vanished. She recalled, "I realized Jeffrey's energy had changed. He was no longer the charming, powerful man who had led her into the lion's den. He was like seething. He was enraged. He wouldn't make eye contact with me." Then came the blame, a cruel twist of the knife. The man who had led her into that office, who had stood by and watched, allegedly turned his silent fury on her. Williams remembers him finally looking at her and yelling, "Why did you let him do that?" This question is a masterclass in psychological abuse. It's a cruel inversion of reality, a classic tactic of gaslighting that places the onus of the transgression squarely onto the victim. It's designed to confuse, to shame, and to shatter a person's sense of reality. Williams was left reeling, her mind struggling to process the initial assault and now this bewildering secondary attack. "I remember thinking why did I?" she confessed, the emotional manipulation hitting its target. "I felt like I was coming back into my body at that moment, and I was confused." It was this bizarre, enraged reaction from Epstein that led her to a disturbing conclusion, one she now holds with conviction. She believes the entire incident was not spontaneous, but coordinated between the two men. A test, a performance, a sick initiation, or something darker still. It's a truly chilling account, suggesting a level of manipulation and shared deviance that is almost impossible to comprehend. If you find this breakdown of these serious allegations revealing and believe these stories need to be heard, hit that like button to show your support for independent analysis. Now, an allegation this severe requires context and corroboration. Is there anything to support Stacey Williams' claims of a close, long-standing relationship? The evidence is substantial and comes from multiple sources. Their friendship reportedly began in the late 1980s and continued for well over a decade. It only soured around the year 2004, and the reason is incredibly telling. It wasn't because of Epstein's escalating legal troubles or rumored deviance, but over a property dispute in Palm Beach. Business, it seems, trumped all else. Let's look at the infamous flight logs from Epstein's private jet, nicknamed the Lolita Express. These are not rumors, they are records. They show that Donald Trump flew on Epstein's plane on at least 7 separate occasions. These weren't commercial flights, they were journeys into the exclusive, private world of Jeffrey Epstein, a world that we now know included trips to his notorious private island and his Palm Beach estate. Then there are Epstein's infamous leaked address books, the so-called black books. These were not casual collections of numbers. They were curated lists of contacts, a veritable who's who of global power, influence, and celebrity. And within their pages, you find multiple contact details, not only for Donald Trump, but also for the future First Lady, Melania Trump. Being in that book signified a level of access and connection that went beyond mere acquaintance. But perhaps the most personal and unsettling piece of evidence comes directly from Williams's own story, a physical artifact that links the alleged assault to the perpetrator. Shortly after the alleged incident in 1993, Williams says Trump sent a postcard. He didn't send it to her, but to her agent, a calculated, indirect move. According to The Guardian, which reported on the postcard, it showed an aerial view of his opulent Mar-a-Lago estate. On it was a handwritten message, "Stacey, you're home away from home. Love, Donald." The message is dripping with a chilling subtext. Sent after an alleged assault, the phrase, "you're home away from home," feels less like a warm invitation and more like a statement of ownership and access, a haunting reminder of a powerful world she had just been violently introduced to. Faced with this mountain of circumstantial evidence and direct testimony, Donald Trump's defense has been one of total blanket denial. He has consistently sought to downplay their friendship, especially after Epstein's 2019 arrest made the association politically radioactive. When a 2003 birthday album for Epstein surfaced, allegedly containing a letter bearing Trump's signature, his reaction was swift and absolute. He called the document fake. He then went on to make a bizarre and grammatically confounding claim, dismissing the note by stating he never wrote a picture in his life. It's a phrase Stacey Williams openly mocked in her interview, reacting with exasperated disbelief. "What? Are you kidding me? I know what they were up to together. It happened to me." Trump has denied Williams's groping allegation outright and has threatened to sue news outlets for reporting on it. His strategy is clear and has been deployed many times. Discredit the accusers, deny the evidence, and paint any connection to Epstein as a minor footnote in a long and public life. Yet, the timeline remains revealing. The friendship didn't end when the FBI began investigating Epstein for child sex trafficking in 2005. It ended a year earlier, over money and real estate. Epstein would go on to plead guilty to a state charge of soliciting sex from a minor in 2008. Yet the most forceful public distancing from Trump would not come into full effect for another decade, once Epstein's name became globally toxic during his presidency. The story is far from over. As Williams gravely shares her account, the Department of Justice continues to review documents tied to the sprawling Epstein case. Just recently, the DOJ asked a court to finally unseal grand jury transcripts from the original Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell investigations. This means that more information, more testimony, and potentially more powerful names and secrets could soon be exposed to the light of day. Stacey Williams' story is a harrowing personal account, but it is also a single powerful piece in a much larger, darker puzzle. It's a story about power, brazenness, and the alleged complicity between two men who, for a time, were inseparable. Her testimony directly challenges the sanitized narrative and forces us to confront a more disturbing reality about the company the former president kept. The full truth may still be buried under layers of legal maneuvering and decades of denials, but with brave voices like Stacey Williams coming forward, the pieces are slowly but surely coming to the surface. To make sure you don't miss our future investigations into the stories the powerful want to keep hidden, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. Because the past has a way of catching up, no matter how fast or how